What is going on, everybody? So today we are going to be continuing the GLI build and installing the Blaze Performance intake, and I have the beautiful carbon fiber one here and I am ready to get it in the car. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, well, we are starting to get to the home stretch of the turbo build, I guess. And next have to install the intake, and this is gonna be a fun one. I mean, it's hopefully gonna be fun. It looks cool, right? So now, if you guys recall, this was my previous intake, which was the APR one. In most cases, like, it's not gonna make a huge difference, but now that we're trying to make a little bit more power, we're introducing more heat into the engine bay. It's just generally a good idea to go ahead and upgrade to a more closed system, even though this is still technically an open intake, but it should help reduce the intake air temps a little bit and also reduce the wastegate duty cycle, which is going to mean that our turbo will be running healthier. That's why we're upgrading our intake, but let's go ahead and look at what is included with the Blaze one. This is pretty much everything included in the kit minus the turbo inlet pipe, which you can see we already installed right here, and it came with a little rubber band style O-ring that we put around the base to just kind of help the fitment. But we installed this when we did the turbo just to make our lives a little bit easier. So coming back to what we have on the table here, this is our cone style filter. You can see it says Blaze up there. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, so we got a nice big cone filter. Obviously we have our matte carbon intake enclosure. I don't know what the technical term would be called, but I am really excited to see what this looks like. Along with that, we have obviously our PCV breather hose like nipple. I assume that's just gonna basically snug up in there, and that lip right there with the groove is where the PCV system or PCV hose is actually gonna hook onto. Coming over to this side, this is actually what's gonna connect into the cone here, and then we have a little nipple for our vacuum line included in there, and some screws and hardware for the air dam that is gonna be going in the front of our car. Now this gasket is gonna go on top of this and just kind of help the whole front end seal on the car. You know, this is one of the last parts I need to do to finish up the build before I can start her up on the base map and then depressurize the fuel system and everything. So I'm really eager to get this going. So that way tomorrow, hopefully I can adjust the wastegate and do everything like that. Anyhow, so first things first, we need to get this vacuum line inserted, and this is just gonna be a really snug fit, of course. All right, we're making progress. It's going in there. Man, the diameter and like just the size of this whole intake system is ridiculous compared to the APR one, and with that, the Vortex style, at least turbo inlet. Man, it is just a huge amount of air that's hopefully gonna be able to get in the turbo. My suggestion to you, if you wanna make life a little bit easier, just take a little dap of oil, put it on the bottom so that way it slips in easier. No diddy. Push this back a little bit so that way it just kind of tabs backwards. And now we're gonna take the front of the intake. Hold on. Gotta push it back just a little bit more. All right, so now that we got this kind of pushed towards the back side, we should be able to essentially just plop them in. As you can see here, just kind of switching to the bench view. There's these little screws that are gonna need to be screwed into here. This is a T15 that I'm using here. It is like a hex head, but I honestly don't really have any hex heads. So we're making do with what we got. T15 seems like it works. And now we gotta do the next one. Lining this up is a little bit of a pain in the butt, to be honest. There we go. All right. Now our air dam is put together. Now, after we have put this together, we gotta take this like seal and pretty much just run it across the length of the intake. Just kind of work it around. There we go. And bam. All right, now should be good to go ahead and throw this in the engine bay. All right, so moving over to the car. Now note that if you have the stock intake, there's gonna be an air box here, and basically we're just gonna be, you know, kind of screwing it in that place. So while we're looking at the engine bay over here, I want to point out a couple of things that may or may not be different. If you have the stock intake and your car has a secondary air injection, I wanna say, filter, you're gonna have this tube that goes into your stock intake and you need this filter. This one specifically is from APR. There are a couple other brands that make them. I believe CTS is one of them. Don't quote me on that. And then also this vacuum line is gonna be in your stock intake and pretty much any aftermarket intake as well. But this is what's gonna go in that little nipple that we put on earlier. Now this here is your coolant line, and I'm honestly not 100% sure quite yet what we're gonna do with this. I believe we're just gonna have to kind of tuck it down and out of the way. This secondary air intake filter thing is just really annoying. All right, now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and screw in the right side with these bolts here. And so, looks like we may actually need to flatten this out a little bit. Push down on it a little bit. Should help it seal up much better. And just be careful of this coolant line here. You definitely do not wanna rip that. Otherwise, you're gonna have a bad day and you won't be driving your Jetta like me for 2 weeks. Again, this is just I believe a T15. It is a hex, making do with what we can. Bam. Now we need to do the other side. All right, now we're just gonna screw in the second T15 right here. I am personally doing the front ones, the front holes. There we go. Now this is installed and our coolant line is tucked beneath. We'll just tuck that in the side. So now we got pretty much everything cleaned up. I moved the secondary air filter right over here. Now this is gonna be the fun part. We have to get that giant silicone intake hose right on the back over there. Back at my workbench. So now we need to essentially take this giant filter, take that clamp off. On this filter, there are 3 screw holes, and there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. Okay, there is 4 screw holes, I lied. But there's only 3 screw holes on the actual intake, but we're gonna have to pretty much just line these up, and that way we can just essentially screw them in with this Phillips head. Gotta do the next one. Make sure you guys are pushing down on it as you're screwing in. Kind of messed that up on one of them. Okay, what a bam. Oh man, that sucks. Right there, it's a little bit, just a smidge off, but should be totally fine. But yeah, that is the intake filter installed. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bam, bada boom. All right, so let's set that aside for right this second. Oh, this thing's gonna suck. So this is the main thing that we gotta do next. Gotta fit this onto the turbo inlet and wish me luck. All right, so we are good to basically just try and start fiddling. Oops, wait, before we do that, actually I need to reconnect my PCV breather hose. And you probably will not have to do this. I have to do it because I'm a moron and forgot to do it when I was swapping out my turbo. So yeah, so let's get into it. We need to put this on next. The PCV breather. Now my concern is that I have to figure out how I'm gonna kind of squeeze that all in there together. It's gonna suck either way I want to do it. We'll have to see how it works. I'm gonna put like a dab of oil on here. I think that'll make it a lot easier. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, that's a lot more than a dab of oil. Oh my God, no, my finger's soaking wet. Shit. It's not what I was trying to do. I was like Diddy's house. Wait, what? All right, so we just put a tiny bit of oil on there just to kind of help it, you know, slip in a little bit easier. So no way it was that easy. I'm gonna like switch my glove because I got oil all over this one. I've been using the same pair of gloves for like everything over the last week, so we're just gonna switch to some different ones right now. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't have 2 left hands. That's not right. Well, I spoke way too soon. It was not that easy. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, where's that screwdriver? Where's that screwdriver at? Oops. There we go. Nice. All right, let me get my, oh, please be a 7mm. This is not going how I expected it to go. All right, oh, I just slipped. All right, next we gotta take this cone filter. We gotta use this clamp here. And there's one more clamp and I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it is. It's one of these. Might be this one. We'll use this one here. Oh wait, you know what? Before we do that, probably go ahead and hook up our vacuum line. All right, now we should be good. Where'd that vacuum line go? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pop back on that vacuum line real quick. It's gonna be impossible to film, but it's that little line I showed you earlier that needs to connect to that nipple. All right, that is in there. Damn, that shit looks crazy. It's bugging me that this is not centered, but I don't feel like messing with it right now. I still have to obviously start the car and everything on this tune and make sure everything is good, so I'll perfect it later. However, for right now, one thing we do need to do is get the PCV on, and so that is gonna be fun. I haven't seen anyone do this with the Mark 8 retrofit kit yet, so we'll be the guinea pigs. Man, I almost just had a heart attack because my DJI camera just fell off my tripod over here, and it was like almost my height, and it still works. I'm so grateful of that. But check this out. So we got the intake installed. I did get the PCV ran. So I guess it is kind of worth noting, if you have the Mark 8 PCV retrofit kit, it's gonna be a very difficult fit. It is extremely tight. Not even just up here, but like this, you know, ideally you don't want this touching the turbo, but I don't have a choice. And it's also pressing up against the coolant line a bit, which could be worse. At least it's metal. Just worth noting if you do have the Mark 8 retrofit kit, but yeah, look at that. That is awesome. I'm so excited to get this car started. Obviously, if you didn't mess with your PCV system, you won't have to completely remove it off of your PCV here. I just did it because I was taking off the turbo, so it was easier for me to do it that way. Man, she is coming together. This new intake looks absolutely insane. Obviously, I can't quite do a sound clip just yet, but we will be getting the downpipe on hopefully tomorrow. So my goal is to start the car tomorrow. I still have to hook up the battery, and then I need to put the car in like accessory mode, so that way I can use OBD11 to calibrate the wastegate. Once we get it calibrated, throw the downpipe on, we'll start it up on the temporary tune file I have. And yeah, man, it's exciting. It's exciting. Very, very exciting. It's gonna be a tight fit getting this high pressure fuel pump. Gonna love that. Gotta love that. Very good, very nice. That matte carbon in there looks so good, even though there's a couple of like, you know, spots on there or whatever. If you guys enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot to me if you hit the like button, subscribe, you know, that'd be cool too. But anyways, catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.